there, my name is Adiba Onetwadzi and I'm a third year Bachelor of Accounting student at the University of Johannesburg. Now, as we all know, June exams are approaching. In this video, I'll be sharing tips on how I was able to score 91% in my final exam, which will equip you for the upcoming June exams. Without wasting any of your time, let's jump straight into the video. Number one on the list is know your formats. Know the format of the income statement. Know the format of the balance sheet. Know what goes where and how. Know that format, and I advise that when you receive your paper, browse through the paper, look at the trial balance, look at the accounts that were affected, write that format down, because guys, sometimes you get nervous and you start forgetting things. But if that happens and you have your format down, that's like a guideline. It kind of calms you down because you have a proper structure. And I think a lot of people overlook the importance of knowing your format. Know what goes where. That also helps you to have a proper structure. So I think you have to know the format of the income statement, the balance sheet, the fixed asset note. So anything that has a format, know that format because it provides a proper structure. It is really important to know your formats, because how are you gonna know what goes where? Because you can't just plug things all over the place. For instance, the balance sheet, you have to know where your assets go, you have to know where your equities go, you have to know where your liabilities go, and you can't then put let's say for instance land and buildings under liabilities. You don't get marks for that, even if your calculations were right, but because it's in the wrong place, you don't really get marks for that. So knowing your format is important. Number 2, show your calculations. The marker is probably marking a lot of scripts and they can't really see what you were thinking. You don't show them that this is how I was thinking. Let's say for instance, you have a line item, rental expense. If you don't show the marker, this is how I got to my answer, you might lose a lot of marks. Let's say for instance, rental expense has about 5 marks and you just write the final answer and it's wrong. You're not gonna get those 5 marks because you didn't show the marker your thought process. Show the marker your thought process. Show the marker this is what I multiplied with in order to get this answer, because there are marks for each and every step you do. So if you don't show them the steps, they are unable to give you the marks for your calculations. And I think a lot of people forget to show their calculations. Guys, it's very important to show your calculations, because it shows the marker what you were thinking, your thought process. And even if you don't get the final answer right, you are able to get part marks for the calculations that you were able to do or that were accurate. So ensure that you show your calculations. I know sometimes we get nervous in the exam room, but try to stay calm. Show the calculations, show the marker. This is what I was thinking. This is what I did to get to the final answer in order for them to give you the marks. Show those calculations. Know your double entries. What helped me was knowing my double entries, and whenever I'd receive my script, go through a transaction, I'd write down the accounts that are affected to keep track of what I am doing. Because guys, it's easy to forget the accounts that are affected by a particular transaction if you don't write your double entries down. It's important to know your double entries, or use what works for you. If you know you will remember your double entries, you don't need to write them down. With me, I'd easily forget my double entries, so I'd write them down and know which accounts are affected. As I am dealing with the accounts affected, I tick off those double entries to say, this I have dealt with, this I have dealt with. For instance, if we have a sales, it's easy to forget that cost of sales and trading stock are affected. For instance, if maybe PTY Limited bought from us, then you debit bank or trade receivables and then you credit your sales. And then you then forget that, oh, there's cost of sales and there's trading stock that is also affected. Then it's easy to lose marks, because you're not only losing marks for not seeing that those accounts are affected, you're also losing marks for the calculations that you could have gone through to show that final mark. For instance, sales and your cost of sales are not the same amount because there are certain percentages that change these two amounts. So if you don't show the calculations, number one, if you don't see that that account is affected, you lose a lot of marks. So I would advise that you know your double entries, you know which accounts are affected, and if you like me, you easily forget, write those double entries down, and as you are going through each transaction, you tick off those double entries to then say, oh, I've gone through this transaction, I don't need to go through it again. So you're saving time. So you tick it off and then you move on to the next question. You ensure that you get all the marks for that transaction, because you might find that one transaction has like 7 marks. If you don't pick up that there's trading stock and cost of sales that are affected, then you can lose out on a lot of marks. So know your double entry. Draw your timelines. Timelines help you see when a transaction occurred and which months fall into the current financial period. If you don't draw your timelines, it might be difficult to see the months that fall within the current financial period, and you might find yourself calculating months that are way out of our financial period. So they help you keep track of the dates. They help you see when a transaction occurred, when I should stop accounting for a transaction. So if you don't draw your timeline and your nerves are kicking in, it's going to be difficult to calculate correct amounts because you might include months that were not supposed to be there. So it's very, very crucial that you draw your timelines. Know your classification. Know your expenses, know your assets, know your incomes, know your liabilities, because your income statement is only for incomes and expenses. Your balance sheet is only for assets and liabilities and equities. So if you don't know what is what, you might find that you place the wrong items in the wrong financial statement, and you don't want to get to a point where you are confused. You don't know what goes where and how. So know your classification, know what an asset is, know what a liability is, and not only that, know which side they increase on, because that's important for your double entries. If you don't know that my asset increase on my debit side and my liabilities increase on my credit side, then it might affect you when it comes to your double entries and to knowing which account is increasing, which account is decreasing, and how to record your transaction and how to calculate for each of those line items that are affected. So what helped me know what increases was this method that I was taught by my teacher, one of the best teachers. My accounting teacher was Alice. With the method of Alice, you are then able to see which side your line item or your element is increasing on. Master one thing at a time. For instance, we have the income statement and the balance sheet. Usually you are given a list of transactions that you have to go through, and then after that fill in the transactions in the necessary financial statements. Sometimes you might find one transaction affects the balance sheet and the income statement. Now, when you are practicing, focus on mastering one statement at a time and then bring them together and do them together. For instance, go and do your income statement alone, do the transactions alone, and master that first. When you're done with that, go to the balance sheet, do that alone, master the balance sheet. After mastering the balance sheet, that's when you bring them together, because now you're comfortable with both statements and you are able to calculate for both statements. So when you bring them together, you're not going to find it very difficult because you're comfortable with both statements. So if you're going through a transaction, let's say sales for instance, it affects both your income statement and the balance sheet. So with sales, you would debit your trade receivables or bank, that goes to your balance sheet. You'd credit your sales, that goes to the income statement, and then after that you'd debit your cost of sales, credit your trade inventories. Trading stock goes to your balance sheet, and then your cost of sales goes to the income statement. So it's easy to mix things up if you don't know or if you're not comfortable with both statements. So my advice would be to master both statements individually and then bring them together. So applies with the other topics. I would advise that you do each question at a time, and then after closer to your exam date, that's when you bring a whole question paper and you do it. So focus at one thing at a time, and then focus and then mastering them together, bringing them together. Also, that also depends on you and what you are comfortable with doing. So if you are able to do the income statement and the balance sheet together, do that. If you can't do that and you do them individually, then do that. Just see which method saves you more time and follow that. Last but not least, do a lot of past papers. Practice your past papers. Practice with a lot of past papers. One thing about accounting, if you do a lot of past papers, you will see a pattern. You will see that there's a certain structure they like following. There's certain patterns they like following. I'm not saying cram. I'm not saying you should cram. I'm saying do a lot of past papers, because that fully equips you for what to expect in your papers. That fully equips you for what structure to expect. So when you then go to your exam room, you are not shocked, or you are familiar with how questions are asked and you are able to attempt them. So do your past papers. Do a lot of past papers. One thing about accounting, I think it's in high school it's less theoretical and more calculations. So the more you practice, the more you get better at it. So do your past papers. Maybe for different provinces, I think I used to do a lot of past papers from the Free State, Gauteng, depending on, just do a lot of past papers. Practice makes perfect. And when you do a lot of past papers, you are then able to be comfortable. So when you get there, you're not really like nervous, because you're already used to the structure. Or even if they switch up the structure, you've already equipped yourself with the necessary skills and tools and calculations that you are able to tackle any question that is thrown at you. So guys, it is important to do your past papers. Going through your notes is not enough. Going through the textbook is not enough. Do those past papers. Like, guys, a lot of past papers. A lot. Practice. We have come to the end of the video. I hope these tips help, and if you still have more questions, feel free to leave a comment. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in my next video. Bye.